Woo, baby. All right, good to be here live on a Wednesday. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green. Digital football in the air, football music in the air. And why wouldn't it be? We're getting closer and closer and closer to the start of football season. And, of course, all you fantasy freaks out there, I'm sure you're getting closer and closer if you haven't already drafted your fantasy team. This weekend, we've got a couple of drafts coming up in the Manchild Show with Boy Green digital world, and then our live draft a week from Saturday at the lovely Smoky Bones in Clay. And if you were watching our live show on Monday, you got to see the lovely JJ. And if you didn't, go back and watch the lovely JJ talking all about the wonderful meats that they have at Smoky Bones and the space and the catering and everything else. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a chance to do that and to get people a little bit more familiar with Smoky Bones, who is going to be sponsoring and is going to be hosting us for our fantasy draft a week from Saturday, the 29th.
Friday, Lerch.
Friday. Thank you. I'm sorry, Friday. And we try to wait as long as we can for our big fantasy drafts, especially our Champs League, the live draft. We used to have it the day before football season started, that Wednesday before the Thursday night game. But because Joe Bartle has somehow made his way back into the league, I don't know how thrilled I am about Bartle being back in the league, but he is. He earned his way back after dropping down 2 levels and coming all the way back. Oh, he's gone for 4 years, boy.
Inspirational.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, he was gone for 3 years, came back. 4 years later, Joe returns to the Champs League, and he did keep his spot last year as well. So he's back again this year, and he's traveling all the way from Madison, Wisconsin. So we figured we could make the draft work for him. So he's been kind of the priority. Otherwise, he'd be back on that Wednesday, probably the day before the season starts or the night before the season starts. But not the case this year. So there could be some injuries over that last weekend, but hopefully nothing happens to anyone in practice. All right, without further ado, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. We'll tell you some more about Box Drop in just a little bit. But every Wednesday, and get used to this during football season, we're going to be bringing in this guy from PFF. He's our NFL All Things Insider. Let's welcome back to the show for week number 2, Dalton Wasserman. What's up, Dalton? How are you?
What is up, guys? We got the theme music. We got the whole crew here today. We're 2 weeks from the NFL. We're 3 days from college football. It's a good time to be a fan of football, obviously. We got everything going on both levels. And, man, it's about to be a really fun season again, as it always is.
Well, as they say, decisions, Dalton. So let's start getting into decisions, because as camp rolls on, as we get through these preseason games, these coaches have to make decisions, sometimes about starting quarterbacks, and that always seems to be the decision we care about the most. So a couple of decisions made this week. Let's start with the one that really is ringing the bell this morning for a lot of people that woke up to the news that broke yesterday, and that essentially is Daniel Jones back as a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Colts. He beats out Anthony Richardson for the job. And Shane Steichen even going a little further than, hey, Jones is starting week 1 here for us. He said, Jonesy's our season starter. And that has certainly lit the fire of a lot of people. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I think the latter point is really kind of, maybe he believes that. And obviously, if he starts 17 games and has a good season, that's great. But I don't think you can just go out there and say, oh, this guy's on a short leash, because then you just send the wolves on him, right? But I got to be honest with you, and maybe I'm in the minority here. I really think if you're trying to win football games, this is the right decision. It's just we've seen Anthony Richardson too often with the inaccuracy, with sometimes poor timing in the pocket. I know he's a great athlete and he throws a pretty deep ball and everything, but the fundamental parts of this offense just don't get executed as often with Richardson on the field, right? It just, he has a hard time not throwing the fastball, throwing the shorter passes, right? Whereas Daniel Jones, look, I know it's not flashy. I know he's boring. I know he's not the best quarterback in the league, but within that 15 to 20 yard box that Shane Steichen really wants to operate the offense in, he can make those throws, right? It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to light up any highlight reels, but I think with all the weapons that they have, especially guys like Tyler Warren and Josh Downs, guys like that can win after the catch, I think Jones can function in this offense at least a decent level and give him a chance to win every week. I really do think this is the right decision.
So, Dalton, now that we have that part of the equation where he's going to be the starter for the full season, what's that mean for Anthony Richardson? He was a top 4 pick. He was supposed to be the man on campus, and his agent put out some cryptic stuff last night about trust being broken between the organization and the quarterback. It's a trade inevitable here for Anthony Richardson.
No, I don't.
Dalton,
Yeah,
before you answer that question, let me just chime in for a quick second. I want to hear your answer, obviously. But let me say this, Boy Green, to that question. Why is that even a question? What happened to someone else beat me out for the job, and I need to go back to practice and work harder and win the job back? Why doesn't that exist in sports anymore? And I'm not even just talking about football, where, oh, I lose my job. What do? I cry like a baby. Like, don't cry like a baby. Just go out there and earn your spot back in the lineup. Go show them that they're wrong. Am I wrong about that, Dalton? Go ahead.
So on that front, I think that's actually something that starts out now in college football with the way that we have the transfer portal. And anytime a guy's not starting, he's going to leave and find somewhere to go. So I think, even in high school, I've seen this a ton in high school, where if a kid's not starting, he's switching high schools too. It just happens at all the way down. I've seen this happens with, even Little League and kids as young as 10 years old doing this, switching teams so they can play, right? And I think the reason it happens at this position so much at quarterback is because there's only one spot on the field for it, right? If it's a defensive end, if it's a wide receiver, yeah, they can earn it through rotational reps. There's really no rotational reps at quarterback, right? So I think that's a big thing. I don't know that it's some trust has been broken thing, right? Yes, he was taken 4th overall, but even then you have to be good enough to get on the field and win games, right? And Boy Green, to your point about a trade, I don't think it's coming during the season. I don't think it's coming right now. Their next option on the depth chart is Riley Leonard, a rookie they took in the 6th round, who I like, but even now I'd probably still take Richardson on the field with his experience over Riley Leonard. I think the time you would see him get traded is next offseason. I think what this is more so than some declaration of Daniel Jones. I think it's really about where they're at as an organization and feel, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard feeling the need to win ball games. If they don't, they may be gone anyway. And if they're gone, Richardson's probably gone. And if he can't beat out Daniel Jones for the job anyway, then we're probably talking in the spring about Drew Aller or Cade Klubnik or Garrett Nussmeier, whoever is their next quarterback. I think this is really, I don't want to say a white flag on Richardson for the organization, but it's pretty darn close to it.
And is there something wrong with some guys just need to develop more before maybe they can do it at this level, Dalton? You know what I mean? Like, I loved it that the Giants sat Phil Simms. I've talked just this past week about I loved it that Kansas City sat Patrick Mahomes. I want the Giants to sit Jackson Dart. Anthony Richardson, we all knew it when he was drafted. This guy is a project. And guess what? The project is taking a little bit longer than we love. Okay, we'd love for the project to just come around in a year or even half a season these days because we're just instant success people. But the fact of the matter is the project isn't complete. Richardson going somewhere else and starting will be just as big a disaster as it has been in Indianapolis. Just work on your game and be good enough to start in this league. And then Anthony Richardson, I promise you, and I respect your talent, I promise you, my friend, you will be a quarterback in this league, but you're going to have to work at it. That's all I believe with this kid. I don't know why all this other garbage has to come into play.
I think the problem is that we all knew he was one of the biggest projects at quarterback that we've seen.
All of us knew that.
We all knew this. I think the Colts knew this. The problem is they never really acted like it. Remember, go back to 2023. He was their week 1 starter. And they had Gardner Minshew on the roster, and I know Minshew's not great, and eventually he led them to a 9-8 record, almost made the playoffs. They never actually allowed Richardson to be the project. They never allowed him to sit on the bench. You mentioned Mahomes. There was a clear plan that you're not playing this year. I'm with you. If I was the Giants with Jackson Dart, look, I like the way he's looked in the preseason. I would play Russell Wilson for as long as possible. The Chargers didn't even start Justin Herbert week 1 of his rookie year. He wasn't going to start until Tyrod Taylor had a lung punctured pregame from an injection or whatever that was, right? So I think we can say he's a project, and he is. And the Colts can say he's a project, and he never got to develop. And then injuries, Shane Steichen mentioned the injuries too, which is a problem. But they never treated him as a project. He started week 1 of his rookie season. He was thrown into the fire. He comes back last year, even with Flacco on the roster, he's thrown into the fire. And now the one time that he's not thrown into the fire and people want, then people want him to start, and he's sitting behind the scenes behind Daniel Jones, a guy who currently is a better quarterback than he is. Eventually you just sit here and go, this was never handled right in the first place. And that's where the fault is, as opposed to this moment in time with Jones starting over him.
Which, as some of the people around Anthony Richardson have pointed out on social media, wouldn't be his fault. That would be the organization's fault for some of the ways they were supposedly, quote unquote, developing one Anthony Richardson. But I guess that's neither here nor there. Let's get to another QB1 conversation. old man Joe Flacco is back for the Cleveland Browns. And there's one pressing question with this graphic on the screen here, Dalton. Why?
Why? Because they really they don't have any other options they feel good about right this minute, right? And look, I like the way Shedeur Sanders played in his preseason game. I like the way Dylan Gabriel played for the most part in his preseason game. I thought he ran the fundamentals of the offense pretty well. Kenny Pickett's been hurt. I think eventually he's going to be the odd man out, but I think at the end of the day, when you're picking out of that group, the guy right now that you most trust to just be on an NFL field, it is Joe Flacco. Even at 40 years old, he's still played decent football the last couple of years. Now, I think the big thing is that we're going to see one, if not both of those kids sometime this year, because Joe Flacco has not taken more than 300 dropbacks in a season since 2018. So whether it's because the offense isn't moving or he's not mobile enough and he gets hit and gets hurt in the pocket or something happens, or they just need a spark at some point because they're 2-6 or whatever they are, I think eventually you're going to see one, if not both of these kids. We'll see who gets the first crack at it. Their unofficial depth chart says it would be Dylan Gabriel, but I do think eventually here Pickett will be the odd man out. And for the first 6, 7, 8 games, somewhere in there, I think they just trust Flacco. And keep in mind, Kevin Stefanski obviously worked with Flacco 2 years ago when they made the postseason together. So he at least knows the system and knows what it's supposed to look like. It's just a matter of trust. And Flacco's the guy right now that you can trust over Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders.
And Dalton, a follow-up here on this. It just feels like it's wasting time because Joe Flacco, he's not taking this team to the Super Bowl. He's not taking this team to the playoffs. We already know what he is. And on the other side, they have 2 first-round picks in next year's draft. They made the crazy trade with Travis Hunter that ended up sending him to Jacksonville. So they have 2 firsts next year. They decided to take 2 rookie quarterbacks in the 3rd and 5th rounds, respectively, which was interesting.
Bizarre.
So shouldn't you say, okay, well, we took these 2 dart throws. They were sort of weird, but all right, let's see what these kids have. Split the season. 8 games for you, 7, 8 games for you, and let's go to town here and figure out if either of you are the guy. Oh, neither of you the guy? Great. We feel even better about using one of those 2 first-round picks next year on the quarterback position because, like I said, it feels sort of wasteful here with Joe Flacco, who is going to do what for you?
Yeah, probably. But there's also the dimension of trying to develop the rest of this team, right, and figure out what you have in some of these young receivers and some of these young backs, even giving your defense a chance to continue to develop with some of the guys they have. So it isn't just this one spot that matters. I think Flacco, obviously, again, we know what he is. Is he functional? Yes. Is he great? Absolutely not, right, especially at 40 years old. But I do think you're going to get a condensed version of that later in the season where you're going to see probably Dylan Gabriel get the first shot at a few games. If he plays well, they'll leave him in there to keep playing. If he doesn't, then maybe Shedeur gets a chance because you're right. There's no sense in playing Flacco for 17 games, that's for sure. But I think you do want to know what you have in those 2 guys because just on the off chance that one of them looks like a capable starter, if not better, then you go into next year's first round with 2 draft picks that you could spend at other positions. They have major offensive line needs. They have major wide receiver needs. They have major needs in the back 7 of their defense. You would love to be able to say, hey, our franchise quarterback's on our roster, and we could spend 2 first rounders on 2 really good players in what is probably going to be a very defensive draft again next year. So I think they might fortify that part of it, especially at corner and maybe at linebacker again. But no, there's no sense in playing Flacco 17 games. I think he gets the first 7 or 8, and then they get antsy and go, okay, let's see what these other 2 guys have with more reps with the 2s under their belt, with more, even scout team reps under their belt at NFL speed. I just think for the early part of the season, this is the route they were most comfortable with.
PFF's Dalton Wasserman joining us today. Again, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. We'll hear a little bit more about Box Drop in just a couple of minutes. One other one on the Browns, and then we'll move to some other stories going on in the NFL. But I'm just curious on your take. I know he is the forgotten man, and rightly so. But just to take, Dalton, on Deshaun Watson and whether or not he ever quarterbacks again for an NFL team.
I don't think so. Maybe a team brings him into camp just for, to see what they have, what's left there. But what would between the injuries, obviously, the suspension and the long layoff between playing took something out of his game, right? It took him out of rhythm. The injuries, obviously, we had the shoulder before. Now you've got the Achilles. So if a guy like Deshaun Watson, who a lot of his game was predicated on his mobility early in his career, if that's hampered at all, and he's getting closer to 30 years old here, if he isn't already, you just have all of that talent that we saw in Houston that's just not all the way there. And the time that he has played for the Browns has not looked good at all. So I think between, honestly, the PR firestorm that would come with bringing him into your building at all, and just the lack of effective play over the last couple of years with the Browns, I really don't. I mean, maybe he signs with the roster, but I don't think we see him on an NFL field again in game action.
All right, let's pour one out for him. Little Hunger Games action there. Pour one out for Deshaun Watson there. All right, Dalton. Yeah, this quarterback news. Who's QB1 here? Who's QB1 there? Who cares? All right, Dalton, let's get down to business here. There was some Jetsy news this morning that revved my engine, pal, and I need the insight on it. And it comes from NFL insider extraordinaire Diana Rossini of The Athletic. She revealed that the New York Jets are among several teams monitoring the trade market for potential wide receiver additions per sources, and two other teams that were making calls as well, the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. I turn that to you, Dalton, because everyone knows Garrett Wilson. Yeah, he's pretty good, but everyone outside of him in that wide receiver room is a little sketchy. So, okay, who is it? The Jets are making calls? What kind of names are we talking? Are we talking sexy? Some Terry McLaurin action? Some Chris Olave, perhaps? Michael Pittman Jr., is there another name that emerges to you that makes sense? Come on, give it to us, baby. Jets, wide receiver, splash?
I don't think it's a splash. I think this was said in a broader sense because, look, the Vikings obviously have Jordan Addison suspended. The 49ers have a ton of injuries in their receiver room. And the Jets, obviously, we know, just have as little depth as any team in the league with their pass catchers beyond Garrett Wilson. I think this is more of like, okay, can we find a veteran that can help us? I don't think it's a Terry McLaurin. I don't think it's a superstar because Terry's going to be 30 years old, and the Jets' timeline is not one where they're going to pick up and pay a 30-year-old receiver. The Commanders, to me, should pay him because they're in a win-now timeline all of a sudden with Jaden Daniels and the pieces. But the Jets, maybe they do. Obviously, if Fields plays well and the defense stays healthy and plays well, maybe they can scratch out, and compete, get a winning record, compete for a wild card. But realistically, the Jets' timeline is not one that's going to be, okay, let's go pick up Terry McLaurin and make this big splashy move, right? I think for them, it's more about, can we get better with the rest of this room? Or do we really feel comfortable about Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson and Alan Lazard? And even, I know a lot of the Jet fans love Arian Smith right now, but is he really your wide receiver too right this minute? And that's, again, nothing against Smith, but in a vacuum, this is a fourth-round pick that you're asking, okay, go be our wide receiver too. It's not that realistic unless the kid is absolutely like Puka Nacua special or something like that, right? Which is very, a very low likelihood. I think they're monitoring for cheaper options, guys who can maybe be a slight upgrade or just add more depth to take pressure off of some of those kids, right? And just be efficient separators in that offense. But I don't think it's a big, sexy name like Terry McLaurin for the Jets.
So who are some of those names? You mentioned it might be lesser. Like, who's some names? Give me some names to keep an eye out for Jet fans or two.
I want names.
Off the top of my head, you might not love this, but I do wonder if there's two guys that were drafted last year to a division rival in the Patriots, and Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, maybe a couple of young guys like that they would take a chance on. I really thought John Mechie from Houston would have been a target, but Philadelphia's traded for him now, and I think a pretty good move for them. I think you look at some of the teams with just deeper wide receiver rooms, right? And you go, okay, who are the fifth and sixth guys there?
Green Bay?
Green Bay, possibly. I think, I know they want to keep as many guys as possible, but I still wonder about maybe a Christian Watson, especially if they're going to get Matthew Golden in there as the premier speed guy. Then Watson's role might be redundant. That would be something more likely than, say, a Terry McLaurin at 30 years old. I think Watson, if you can keep him healthy, we know the athlete that he is. We know the speed and the vertical threat that he is. I think that would be a really solid fit if Green Bay felt like they were overloaded on receiver. Or maybe it's Dontavian Wicks, or, some have thought Romeo Doubs is the guy. Those younger guys like that you don't have to pay the $30 possible $1 million that you're going to have to pay Terry McLaurin if you do that. That makes more sense to me than somebody like a superstar in McLaurin. So I think that's what they're looking for. In the similar mold of the Eagles trading for John Mechie, who I really thought was a Jets target, I think those are the types of players you're looking for.
All right, Dalton Wasserman with us from PFF, talking all things NFL. We do this every Wednesday during our live show, right at 11 o'clock. Dalton comes on with us. Our today's broadcast sponsored by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse. I need to get a little shut-eye, so enjoy this 30 seconds as I snooze away on one of those comfortable Box Drop Syracuse mattresses. Take a listen.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
And by the way, Boy Green, just to speak of sleep a moment, just a little bridge here out of our Box Drop the mattress thing. I was going to say this to you before. We have our little pre-production meeting and talking about what we're going to cover on the show today. And I was thinking last night, I think last night in a year was the best night of sleep I have gotten in a year.
Oh, right? Wow. Okay.
And you and I from time to time talk about sleep. I'll tell you, I like wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I just get up, then I just go to work.
You're very open.
I've had a really weird sleep experience for the last year. But my wife is still in Syracuse. She hasn't joined me yet. She's coming down for the wedding, but she's driving down. I flew down yesterday, right? So she's not there. So no rustling or rolling into bed, right? No distractions there.
Nice.
I only got about 2.5 hours because I had the 6 a.m. flight. I told you that yesterday, right?
Sure.
When we were doing it. I was like, so I was dead tired, but I did still stay up till like 11 o'clock. But I mean, like a rock, I slept less. Didn't wake up once. Woke up in the morning. I was like, wow, fantastic. So I don't think I was on a Box Drop mattress, but nonetheless, I just wanted to get that off my chest because it makes me feel a little bit better.
Well, you want to know what would make me feel better? Dalton has rejected all of my advances. Ooh, wide receiver, this could be cool. Dalton's like, no, you're going to get this and you're going to like it.
Exactly.
But let me throw one more at you, Dalton. There's one more. And this is my number one target. I sort of whispered it a couple of months ago, and no one picked it up. I'm like, okay, I'll try it later. Now seems like a better time than any. Here's a wide receiver target for the Jets. Come on, Dalton, give it to me. Detroit Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams. He's got 2 years left in his deal.
No.
Are they going to pay Amon-Ra and Jameson? I don't know.
No
so what
way.
about J-Mo? AG, since he's got hired by the Jets back in January, February, he's continued to bring up Jameson Williams and trying to find one on his team, however that's going to come. I know how to find one. Jameson Williams. Stop looking for a copy of him and get the guy. What about Detroit? That splash, huh? AG, Tanner Engstrand, bring him back home. Makes a lot of sense. And he's a former Ohio State guy, too.
I think ask that question again in 6 months when we're closer to the end of that deal. Right now, the Lions, even with 2 new coordinators, they believe they're trying to win a Super Bowl, and they're trying to do that with Jameson Williams. I would say if we get to the end of this season and there are questions about their offense, the OC, the O-line, Jameson's contract, all of that stuff, ask that question again when the season is over. Right this minute, not happening. They're trying to win a Super Bowl, and they have a better chance to do it with J-Mo than without.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Dalton. Are you a big fantasy football guy?
I'm in one pretty serious league. I don't get in like 8 or 10 leagues like some people do. But yeah, I'm a solid fantasy guy, and we certainly have a lot of the experts here at PFF too. Our guy Nathan Yankee is the best in the business, so a lot of times I'll just ride with whatever he tells me to do, and let's go. Yeah.
Okay, because we have a fan question from our audience. So okay, no pressure. Don't screw up this guy's draft. Okay, Dalton. Here's the question from Paul. Again, his parents named him wonderfully here. Paul De Niro here on the show. He says, I have the second pick of my fantasy draft. Is it crazy to draft Josh Allen, the MVP of the league, as my first pick, which would be the second overall pick in this fantasy draft? Dalton.
I'm usually a fan of I don't usually take quarterbacks in the first round. I think I might consider that if I was picking it like, I'm assuming it's a 12-team league. I might consider that if I was picking like 11 or 12 and the wraparound was longer, right? And I had 2 picks back-to-back and one of them was Allen. But I think I would be more likely to go with one of the premier names at the top, right? Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Saquon, somebody there second. And then when you get the wraparound, when you're at the end of round 2 or beginning of round 3, that's a spot where I might think about if Allen's available, Lamar Jackson, if he's available at the end of the second. I'm not usually a fan of taking quarterbacks in the first. If I was going to do it, I would do it at the end of the first, second pick in the draft. I'm taking something safe, whether it's, like I said, Chase or Jefferson or Bijan Robinson, I think is in for a huge year. I'd be more likely to do that.
Okay, thank you for the question, Paul. There's another question coming in here. And what in the name of everything that's holy? Phil asks in on our YouTube channel. BG, what about Jalen Hyatt? I think the Giants will trade him. I'm sure they will. But you want to know what? If I wanted a traffic cone, I'd go to Lowe's. Jalen Hyatt sucks. I don't want this random scrub.
The problem is, right, I mean,
difference maker. Come on, man.
Trade him. I mean, he's not worth anything. That's the problem. The Giants are hoping he can turn into something, and then at that point, maybe you could trade him.
Yeah.
But right now, he's kind of a pipe dream. So we talked to Ed Valentine, who's a Giants insider regularly, Dalton, and we keep getting updates on Hyatt. He caught a pass or two in the last preseason game. It seemed like the Giants had him kind of actively. I think the big complaint with him, and his coaches kind of articulated a little bit, Brian Dable, is that he needs to get on the field. You know, he seems to be hurt a lot. And how the heck are you going to get better if you aren't out there doing the drills and working with the quarterbacks and so on and so forth? But give us your take on Jalen Hyatt, and could the Giants trade somebody young like him?
They could. I think the one thing that if he is healthy, he brings is obviously blazing speed. I think the two complaints about him, the injuries, like you mentioned, and look, something that happens with some of these Tennessee receivers that come out of college and the system they run is it's not a whole lot of route tree in there, so there's not a lot of route diversity. The one thing I will say is when you do have Russell Wilson and you do have Jackson Dart, even Jameis Winston as your quarterbacks, the Giants are trying to throw the ball vertically better, deep down the field. We saw that with the big post route to Bo Collins, and if Bo Collins is going to make this team, then I'm not really sure where Hyatt fits in anyway. But the fact that he still has that 4.3, 4.4 type speed and can get downfield is somebody the Giants may still want on the field occasionally. But the lack of route diversity and, like you mentioned, the injuries, there's a reason he's no higher than wide receiver 4 on that depth chart right now for sure. So maybe he's a trade target, but you mentioned that you wouldn't get more than a pick swap or maybe a 6th or 7th round pick straight up for him.
Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. We're streaming live on the Manchild Show Boy Green Digital Facebook page and YouTube page, along with my YouTube page as well, at Boy Green 25. Dalton Wasserman, our NFL enthusiast here on the program for all things National Football League. Dalton, there's a lot of stories going on right now, but I want to flip it over to you. What's a story that we should be talking about more as we head into the preseason finale? And before you know it, the regular season's here. What story needs more coverage?
I think it's really about these pass rushers. I mean, I know it's a big story, but when you talk about the real threats of a trade for Trey Hendrickson, what's going on there in Dallas with Micah Parsons, these are game-changing type players and a team that I keep thinking about that I think their biggest flaw is their pass defense. I really think we need to keep an eye on the Green Bay Packers, and I know, look, everyone wants to talk about Jordan Love, Matthew Golden, all those receivers, the offense, how high-flying they can be if Love is healthy. But I think something that could keep them out of Super Bowl contention is their pass defense. I don't love their pass rush on their defensive line. I don't love their cornerback room right now. I think they could be in a lot of shootouts this year. They didn't look very good on defense in their game against the Jets a couple weeks ago. I didn't think they looked great last week against the Colts, although they weren't playing a lot of starters. They also have a lot of injuries on their offense right now in their wide receiver room and their running back depth. So I think the Packers are a team to watch. I think that entire NFC North is fascinating, man. I'm telling you, the way Caleb Williams looked the other night, the Packers and some of the flaws that I think aren't getting talked about. Minnesota and their J.J. McCarthy situation. Detroit still has a boatload of talent. I don't know what to make of this NFC North, but there's some things in the Packers' pass defense that would worry me. If I was them, if the Bengals are saying they want a first-round pick and a young player, this is the trade I would make. I would send him a first-round pick and Lucas Van Ness. I would do that. I don't think he's been great the last 2 years. I think to upgrade from him to a primetime pass rusher like Hendrickson, that would be a trade I would throw on the table and see if the Bengals, because the Packers defense with Trey Hendrickson added to it, him on one side and Rashawn Gary on the other, that's something I'm all of a sudden afraid of. I would really think about if I'm Green Bay looking into these pass rushers.
All right, beautiful. Well,
Game of money, man. Game of money.
Yeah, it seems that way. Again, the Bengals should want to keep Trey Hendrickson if they want to. You just mentioned, right? You said, hey, Paul, why would the Lions – what are you, an idiot? Why would the Lions trade Jameson Williams to try to win a Super Bowl? Yeah, that makes sense. Why would the Commanders be trying to trade Terry McLaurin? Why would they pay him? Why would the Bengals not pay Trey Hendrickson? It just doesn't make any sense. So we'll see if logic reigns supreme in some of these crazy situations here, Dalton. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Bengals, I'm with you. That's the first thing. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think without Hendrickson, they might have the worst pass rush in football, right? You have the guy leading the league in sacks and otherwise really basically nothing, right? They were, I think, the 6th or 7th worst pass rush team in the NFL last year with Hendrickson by our metrics. And now if you take him out, they probably end up maybe dead last. So I think there's a chance that they miss the playoffs again altogether if Hendrickson's not on the field for them. You know, we love their offense. Joe Burrow's an elite quarterback, all that stuff. But if you can't make stops, and the other night against Washington, their run defense was, just a mess. And, they can say it's simple looks or whatever, but that's not a whole lot different than it's looked in recent years anyway. I would be extremely worried about this Bengals defense from what we've seen in the preseason. And if they don't have Hendrickson, it's a tough project for Al Golden, because I think you get to a point where you go, man, they kind of have a talent shortage there.
All right, let's get one last question in. It's got super chatted in here, and another Jets fan. We got a lot of those hanging around. Old Yank sends a $2 super chat in. Thank you very much. The Raiders room is crowded. We were talking about Jets wide receiver trade rumors. What about Jacoby Myers? That's an interesting fella.
See, I think he's the one veteran presence there. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think you're starting 3 there. You're going to have Jacoby Myers. I like Trey Tucker as a vertical threat. You like Dante Thornton and what he's shown you so far, and the speed that pairs with Geno's arm really well. And then their second round pick Jack Besh I really like. And then you have Bowers and Michael Mayer. I don't think the Raiders are stripping down from this offense at all. I actually think it's going to be a pretty darn good offense with Geno in there, with Ashton Jinty in there. They have a lot of issues on defense. I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts, but I don't think Myers is going anywhere. He's one of the most underrated, really reliable receivers in the league, and that veteran possession type guy that they can add in the mix with some of those vertical threats that they're trying to add this offseason and Geno's arm strength. I think Myers only gets more valuable to him this year.
All right. Dalton Wasserman, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. I know last week in Boy Green's honor, you wore the Jets cap. This week, you're in professional PFF attire, and we thank you for that. Perhaps next week, Dalton, how about one of these, baby? How about one of these?
I don't own one. I don't own one. I stay clearly on the side of the green and white. You might get a Mets hat out of me next week.
We'll I get 10. I got about 10 of them. I'll send you one if you want.
If you want, if just for the show. It won't be. My heart won't be in it. It won't really be. It won't be really. But I don't hate the Giants by any. Not like I hate the Yankees, but I don't hate the Giants by any means. I know Abdul Carter is really starting to rev up the rivalry again here, but no, listen, if you send me one, I'll put it on just for the 30 minutes that I'm here.
I love it, Dalton.
What a guy!
I don't have like a severe hate for the Giants like I do say for the Yankees.
Fair enough. I can respect that. Well,
and
Dalton,
I hate the Yankees too, so we're together on that one.
We're all on board on that one. Screw the Yankees. So beautiful. Well, Dalton, thank you as always for joining us. This is cool that you get to check in every week. And hey, man, the season's going to be here before you know it.
Absolutely. You guys take it easy.
Take care, Dalton. All right, there he is, Dalton Wasserman, PFF, giving us some love. We'll do that every Wednesday throughout the entire season. We started last week. He gives us his take. Dalton also gets in on our NFL pick segment, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Boy Green and I, we made this a regular occurrence during the radio show, and we're going to keep the tradition going here on the internet site at MC Show Digital, our YouTube channel. But what we're going to do is every week we're going to drop we'll drop it on Friday sometime. And we will do football picks. We play the autumn wind music, in the background, the entire pick segment, and we pick every game against the spread. Now, him and I have been competing with each other. Paul and I have been competing with each other since the event, since we started this. But what we've done also over all these years is we bring other people into it who also make picks. So it's not just me against Paul. It's a crew of about 7 or 8 people. Now, when we were in the radio world, we always had a couple of interns that were working with us every semester. And a lot of times we let the interns who worked on Fridays jump in on the pick segment, and they would actually even come in the studio. So we had usually a couple of interns, me and Paul. Dalton will be picking for the folks at DFF, so he'll send in a sheet every week. Again, every game against the spread. Pick it against the spread.
Right.
Joe Bartle started jumping in on this about 5 years ago. Our fantasy expert, who is with us every Friday. We'll do another live show with Joe this Friday at 10:30. So Bartle's in on the pick segment. That's 6. We put out on Instagram, and we'll continue to do that this year for all of you folks watching right now, and who watch this later on, every single game with the spread in the middle, and you choose like a poll. I want the Giants +3. I want the Jets plus. So it takes just a couple of minutes to just go through the 15-ish games that you have each week. All right. And then whoever, based on the numbers, if 60% of you pick the Giants and, 50% and 40% of you pick the Jets, if the Jets and the Giants were playing each other this week, then we would, for the fans, pick the Giants because 60% of you said the Giants. So we take those tallies, that poll essentially that you guys put out there for us, and we take your favorites and we put in a sheet for the fans. So that makes 7. And then sometimes we bring in other people. I think we're going to bring back an old-time intern this year. Yeah. He's going to send in his picks because a few years ago, a guy named Intern Ed, maybe, we'll see. I'm going to be very, very I'm thinking about this, but maybe right around the time the season starts or somewhere very early in the season, maybe we'll bring in Ed for an episode. All right.
Wow.
Let him pick with us so that you can see who Ed is, because you have to see and hear intern Ed, no longer an intern now in the professional world. But we reconnected with him in the final week of our radio journey. And he was, he was waxing a little poetic, and he was, dare I say, somewhat disappointed that the 1 year that an intern actually won the season-long picks, that he wasn't invited back. Well, he wasn't invited back because he was no longer an intern. He went into the professional world. And why the heck would we bring him back, right? But he was disappointed by that, and he expressed that to me during our last week of our radio tour.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, Ed, you know what? Okay. You thought you were the big cheese. You took us down for one season. I won't deny it. He had a terrific season, by the way, that year. Picked incredibly well. And I said, all right, we're going to bring you back, but here's my commitment. If you don't win it again, you're done. You're never coming back. If you win again, okay, if he wins this year, then I will be forced to bring him back next year. In other words, so he'll get a rebirth if he wins it a second time. So I'm going to give him a swing this year. And so he's going to be sending in his picks every week, and we'll tell you who he picked. But maybe for 1 week, Boy Green, I'll let him come in, all right, so that people can meet him. They can see him, they can hear him, because he's got a strange voice. Yeah. he's just an interesting guy, to say the least. So Ed will make an appearance, and Ed, I already told Ed he can make picks with it. There's a picture of Ed. Okay,
yes, so Phil was asking, was he the one with the pink hair? That is him in my living room. Yes, he was the pink hair guy. Yes. Yeah.
So intern Ed, strange as he may be, intern Ed will be back this year to make picks, and I'll give him at least 1 week where I'll let him join the live stream here, Boy Green, and he can. He should,
because to be honest, I think just hearing internet or whatever we call him now, Ed Gallagher, I guess his name, like Ed pick this, Ed pick this. That's not really entertaining. So to get the craziness of Ed, I think would be very compelling, entertaining action. So so let's bring him in. I'm all for it.
Big Al chiming in the chat. I might as well throw this up there. We were talking a little earlier about the Yankees. Hate is such a harsh word. Well, we still do hate.
Well, I intended. Yeah, I'm glad that it's harsh, because that
we meant that very harshly. We meant that harsher than harsh.
Yeah, I can confirm.
That was 3 of us in the room saying no thanks to the Yankees. That's nice to hear it. Nice to hear that Wasserman's a Met fan, by the way. Go ahead, Boy Green.
No, that helps. No, I would say the other cool thing about this, because, we hear it every once in a while, and there's a few people in our chat that were radio people that now came over to the digital world and say, it's different. That's true. And there's good and bad things that are different, but a good thing that's different with our picks. The cool thing is Lerch, we have visual opportunity. So when we're announcing the picks, at the beginning of our segment, we say, all right, here's the standings here where everyone stands. I can put a visual graphic up of putting where everyone stands. We can have a scrolling ticker down below where everyone could just come in and go, oh, wow. Oh, Boy Green second. This person's third. This person's fourth. And
correct.
So there's a lot of cool visual stuff we could do that I'm pretty excited.
Now we're going to have tools. And I'll say this very honestly, because because I have said this. Well, I've made statements around this before. So again, consistency, right? I think one of the key things in being good at anything that you do, whether you're a football player, whether you're a baseball pitcher, whether you're not an athlete at all, whether you just work in a sales office, whether you just you're a manager, okay, of a group of people at a business. All right, consistency is really important. I think consistency matters. What makes a good player a great player? It's the fact that they can go out night in and night out and do it over and over again. Anybody can pop the 3 home runs in a game. Anybody. I mean, Bud Harrelson of the Mets could have gone up and hit 3 homers in a game, and he barely hit, more than 2 a season. Okay. But it can happen. Lightning does strike every once in a while. What makes players great, okay, what makes people great is consistency. Are you consistent? So back to my point. I'm sorry for the long, convoluted point here, but the point is consistency matters. And so I try always to be consistent in my viewpoints. And if I change, and I can change, you can change my mind. I can have my mind changed by logic and good argument and maybe a change in the way things are happening in the world. I mean, I once revered college football. Now I'm in a love-hate relationship with college football right now because I hate what's going on. While I agree with the premise, players should get a piece of the pie because everyone else has been collecting the pie forever. And what are they doing to earn it? I totally buy that premise. But what is going on with NIL and the transfer portal in college sports right now is a complete disaster. It is chaos. It is an asylum. It is bad for the sport, okay? Regardless of the fact that now some people are getting paychecks that deserve it. I'm down with that. I agree with it. I'm glad they won that lawsuit all those years ago. But what's happening is just chaos. And it's ruining the sport. It's making the sport less interesting. Every single year, I'm becoming less and less interested in college sports because of the way college sports is run, because there is no consistency. We need consistency in life, folks. We do. So I like to be consistent in my viewpoints. Where did this all start, Boy Green?
So you were inspired by this. So I'll repeat what I said. I'm not sure if you have.
I'll pick up on it if you give it to me. Yep.
But I said that the cool thing about us doing this pick segment is I could do visual elements to the show. Right. So
now I know exactly what I was thinking. Okay. So to go back to the whole thing, there is no greater lover of radio than me. I did it for over nearly 25 years. Okay. Yeah. And before that, spent 7 years in television. So, I love television and all the things that it offers. I came really to love radio over the 23 plus years that I did radio. I've been in this digital world with you for less than 2 months. Okay. Yep. We aren't even at our 2-month anniversary. And by the way, thanks to all of you. Bravo. I give you a golf clap right here. We are approaching 60,000 views. That is incredible. Our subscribers are getting close to that 300 magical number, which will be the David Tyree giveaway. I don't have it on my wall here because I'm at my mom's and not at my house, but I assure you it's sitting on the wall at my house right now. And it's going out the door hopefully in the next month. Okay. When we get to 300 subscribers. I can tell you that in less than 2 months, I am finding this digital world, YouTube, our YouTube world, and I know we put it out in the social media world as well, just as, if not more enjoyable than the other 2 worlds I've already experienced. I think there is more to offer. I love the growth of this space. I love the fact that we can reach anyone at any time, which is amazing. I mean, radio, we had a signal that went, 20 miles in this direction, 15 miles in this direction, whatever it is. And okay, if you happen to be there, and you happen to be on a particular frequency, well, there you are. For this, not only can you come and join us right now, as we have, people with us right now watching us live, but, hey, I feel like, seeing what the fellows are talking about at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Guess what? You can watch this whole show. Okay, all over again, start to finish. You can watch it tomorrow. You can watch it next week. You go on vacation for 2 weeks, you can come back and catch up. It's wonderful, and it's archived, and it's there forever. Or you can see it in short version. As you know, we put out regularly these little, what you call shorts in the world of YouTube. They call them reels, right? In the Facebook world, I think.
Yeah, sure. And on Instagram.
Whatever. You know what they are. There's these little 30 to 60 second videos. Well, guess what? We're regularly producing that stuff as well. So if you just want a taste of what Jake Asman said a couple of days ago to us, if you just want a taste of what Ed Valentine was talking to us a couple of days ago, you don't have to go back and watch the whole, 20, 30-minute interview. If you want to, you will. Maybe Ed says something that really tickles your fancy, but you can just pick up the highlights, dare I say, and we try to provide that for you as well. So I love this world. I'm really, really enjoying it. the fact that I could be sitting at my mom's today, because I'm down, I have a wedding that I'm going to, and I have things going on, and I can just still do a show, and be there just, other than the background, be exactly what I normally am for these,
and you're not,
for our many viewers. It's awesome. It's just so awesome.
And Lerch, you correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't have to do any backflips to do what you're doing right now, right?
Right. Correct.
To even be at your house. That's what I'm saying from a convenience factor. It's not like you had to bring a full studio, multiple mics, cameras, everything. You were able to do it pretty, conveniently. So
pretty easily. Yeah. So, and I bring my laptop with me anyway. So my laptop was coming regardless. And now it's just here performing another function. No, I'll say this. I miss two things about our old world. Okay. Two things that just immediately come to mind. Number one, that we're just not sitting right next to each other. That right now you're sitting in Oswego and I'm in New York City. All right. We can see each other. We can still have a conversation, but there is something about interacting with another human being right next to you, having a chance to kind of chat with them. When we go out to commercial breaks, we would typically be talking to each other, and figuring out what our next move is. And that is a really nice kind of thing. I can even give you a hand signal, like, hey, hold on a second, hold on, Paul. I would put my hand up to him sometimes at the radio. Said, hold on. I gotta finish this.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Yeah. And you're not going to jump in here. I'm like, it's a visual faux pas. I'm like, hold on, don't do anything, look stupid. It is stupid, right? All right. So there are some, dare I say, some rules and some protocols in the video world that you just kind of try to abide by so that it doesn't become an annoyance to the people who are watching. I get that. I know I did TV. I understand. All right. And then the other part of it is that because we're not sitting right next to each other and only being heard and not being seen, all right, it is harder to do that beautiful dance that I think radio does better than any other medium out there, and it's never going to change. All right. And that is that we can bump and rub against each other without there being much friction. All right. You see it even when we have a guest like Dalton. Dalton was going to answer your question, but I had to get that. I just wanted to make that statement because that Anthony Richardson thing is really, I get some things up in my craw sometimes, and it really, I got to release. That's part of why I do this probably is like something in sports just gets under my skin. And I'm like, you know what? That is BS. And I'm here to tell you folks, that's BS. Yeah. So this Richardson thing is bugging me just from the standpoint of now we're going to get the agents and everybody talking about, we got to get him out of here. No, how about you just get better, Anthony? How about agent? You just work on your client, watching more game film, throwing more passes in practice, being on the field and staying healthy. Maybe get on a nutrition program. I don't know what he does. I shouldn't pick on him. Right. I don't know everything he does off the field, but the reputation, at least that which has been out there publicly, is that Richardson may not be the hardest worker. He may not be working on development every single day. And he's a guy that, unfortunately, some people have to work harder than others. Some people are, gifted with all the gifts. Some people are gifted with those great athletic gifts like he has, but needs to get the rest of it in order. And I just think he just needs to work on his game. So work on it instead of going immediately to I got demoted, therefore now, get me out of here. I'll go play for another boss. There might be nothing wrong with this boss. He just might be seeing the playing field very clearly. So anyway, sorry about the tangent, but sometimes things get stuck in your craw and you got to get them off. But back to the radio thing, and then I'll end the conversation here. It just is that rub that you can have when you're in the same room and when it's only audio versus being on video and not being in the same room. Even though there's not a delay, there's a tiny delay. There's a tiny delay between
no matter
how we speak to each other in this world. And you saw it again when I rubbed on Dalton there. He was like, he almost retracted. Because I was talking over him for a second.
Yeah.
In radio, you can do that seamlessly. In the video world, including this digital world, it's a little more wonky, and it's a little bit more awkward. And so I think I'm still navigating that water. So those are the two things that I miss the most about radio is the in-person and the ability to rub. We can't rub as much in this world. It has to be a little kinder. I have to say, okay, Paul, now your turn now. You can speak now, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say this though, because I'm still going to the radio station for another month of just doing stuff not our radio show related. So I'm just walking around in the building. And I will tell you, when we walked away from our final show and the emotions and tears and all that from all that time, and that was all true and that was all real. And then I'm like, after I walked out of that building, I'm like, damn, how am I going to live my life? That was my identity for 10 years. Every day I came in to do a sports talk radio show. Right. And now all of a sudden that part of me was stripped away. And now we're doing it in a different world. But like, who am I? And things of that nature. And when I go back into that radio booth, now that it's been however long it's been, almost 2 months and 6 weeks or something, like I go in there, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, that was fun. I enjoyed that journey. Who knows what's left of that journey before I go 6 feet under? But like, for now, I'm like, I'm good. I love what we're doing here. I don't go to the radio station and go, damn, man, I wish I was right.
Show it back on. Right. Yeah.
I don't, like I said, if an opportunity presents itself in the future that I'm unaware of at this point, and it's compelling and interesting, maybe we can talk about it. But right now, in this moment, I'm walking through the radio station with no regrets. And to be honest, I'm like, man, why did we do this sooner? Because this has just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I have not been back, but I think I would have the same feeling as you. And the reason is, remember that last day when we were in the radio studio, I said, all right, we got to, most of the stuff that's on the walls here, Paul, belongs to me and you.
Yes, right.
I hate to do this to the poor radio people. We decorated this room beautifully. We put up these nice track
very
lights.
Nice. Yeah.
We did a lot of stuff to make that, look like a sports lair.
Yeah.
Even though people weren't seeing it, they were only hearing us just for our sake and for maybe guests that came into the studio. And I said, yeah, we got to strip it all down. And I remember when we took everything off those walls, we had posters that covered entire walls that we're going to be giving away in the upcoming months. So again, you people can own a part of history. That David Tyree autographed picture, which is going out the door hopefully shortly once we get to 300. There's going to be some other items of that nature that are literally history of what hung on those walls for nearly 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
When those walls were stripped down and when we said, okay, turn off the mic. This is our last show. This is our last moment. Thank you very much. And then we played our "We Didn't Start the Fire," right, to end it. And by the way, you can watch that on our digital What a Perfect Thing. You can actually go back. People in radio
can go back and go look at
digital world. You can go back and go check it out. My brother actually listened to it yesterday. He was over here visiting my mom, and I was like, "Oh, didn't you hear the Fruit Loops reference?" And he was like, "What?" And then Paul and I were explaining.
Which, by the way, it's in the playlist. Farewell Radio Tour, something like that. So you guys can go check that out. So feel free.
Yeah, it's under videos. Just look for "We Didn't Start the Fire." Look for the little flames, and you'll see it. It's fun. But anyway, we stripped those walls down, and then I was kind of like, I don't need to come back here. Like, it was just like, we're done. Like, the walls were stripped. Like, if I went back in there now, it'd be like, not the same place anymore. Yeah. Like, we changed the place by literally taking the life out of the room, because the life was us plus what was on those walls, and now the walls are bare. And we're not in the room regularly anymore. So the life is not there anymore. Our spirit may be lurking somewhere, but you're not going to feel it in the same way because the room just looks completely different. So it's interesting. So again, own a piece of history. We're going to continue to give away everything that was on those walls, because I got new walls that are going up at home in my home studio. I'm working on new wrinkles and new things to make that home studio my own little personal lair, dare I say, and make it, my new home. So that's already begun. So I've already moved. It's like I've moved into the new apartment, Paul, and I'm like getting the new furniture. I'm like, oh man, this chair is so much more comfortable than that one I had over there, So sometimes you do that. You move into a new place, and of course, sometimes you might bring some old furniture, but then you start to update, and there's something really fun about that. So anyway, I'm having a blast, and I'm really enjoying this new medium and enjoying and interacting in a completely different way. And I don't think we've lost a lot of the things that we had. So I think it's a win-win.
I think we've only added to it, quite frankly. And now I just took a peek. We're 60 subscribers away from 300, which is so cool.
Bravo,
we're rebuilding this back up, brick by brick. Me and Lerch both pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into this puppy. So I hope you guys are really enjoying the product. So regardless of where you're watching, the Manchild Show Boy Green Digital Facebook page, my YouTube page, make sure you guys come over to the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, or search out MC Show Digital on YouTube, and it will pop right up. Make sure you subscribe. If you're one of our first 300 subscribers, you're going to get a piece of our show's history and a pretty cool sports memorabilia item, an autographed David Tyree Super Bowl photo. That's all put together. You'll get the frame, the whole thing, the whole shish kebab all together. One of our first 300 subscribers. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys can be a part of this journey, because many more giveaways to come, Lerch.
Yeah. By the way, let's get back into some sports news. So thank you, everybody, for indulging. And from time to time, we just go off like this. And, there's a philosophical nature to this show that if you stay on board with us, if you are already a subscriber or you become a subscriber, that you're going to experience. And again, it goes back to that. The whole beginning of this conversation, which I said to you, is consistency. right? That there should be consistency in what you do if you want to be good at what you do. And I've just always believed in that. So I can promise you this, and I don't even have to promise you because it's just my nature, but I can promise you this. If you're a subscriber of this channel and you watch us regularly, you will get consistency. Sure, our opinions will change from time to time, but you will get consistency in a lot of the things that we deliver. And one of the things I'm consistent about is sometimes something gets under my skin, whether it's I'm not getting enough sleep or something's going on in my personal life or something's going on in my family, and I'm going to bring it to the table and I'm going to give you my thoughts, or I'm going to say, you know what, this thing happened and this is what I learned, just so that maybe I can save you the grief of having to go through something that maybe I went through that maybe could come up on your radar sometime and you go, I'm going to remember that Lerch told me that time. I'm not doing that. I'm taking this road rather than this road. So if I can help you in some small way philosophically, I'm down for it. All right. Anyway, did you, by the way, Boy Green, let's get into some sports stuff because I want to spend a little bit more time here during our live show here on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And by the way, brought to you by our friends at Boxstrop, mattress and now sofas as well, where you can get really inexpensive sectionals. Fantastic. Go see our friends at Boxstrop, just off of Route 11 in Cicero, New York, where you will just save 30 to 70% on furniture and on mattresses. It's incredible the amount of money that they will save you, and the stuff is really, really high quality. It's fantastic. Okay, so I was reading the Rich Cimini piece. Did you read that Rich Cimini piece about Aaron Glenn and his confidence, Boy Green, in
I believe so,
Justin Fields?
Oh,
so
yes.
We have Fields coming off a couple of wonky performances, dare I say, in the first two preseason games, especially the Giants. He played a little better in the first game, I suppose, but still has not really, looked great. And Aaron Glenn immediately is now in defense of his quarterback. So go ahead, entertain that thought.
Yeah, for sure. He has been defending him the entire time. I would say Justin Fields looked really good in the preseason opener. He only had one drive that went right down the field, scored a touchdown. He showed some throwing. He showed some running. It looked really good. The Giants one obviously was not good. The only silver lining is he led the Jets to a scoring drive on the second drive of the game, got him into field goal range for a field goal. So that was nice, but come on, I can't church it up. And he was 1 for 5 for 4 yards. So it wasn't great by any means. But AG has been an adamant defender of Justin Fields. And why wouldn't he be? Because they selected him. They chose him this entire offseason. And he just continues to say, basically, it's not quite Dino Babers visualized in season 1.5. That's where it's going to pop. But he's just sort of said, we believe it. It's going to happen. Some of the criticisms have been Justin Fields has not been taking deep shots. He didn't take deep shots at the Jets joint practice I was at. He hasn't taken them in games. And Justin Fields continues to say that he is more than comfortable. If the defense is going to give him 8-yard chunks, if it's not exciting for the fans, so be it. But we'll take these 8-yard chunks all the way down the field and make plays happen. And Aaron Glenn just believes that it's going to click, it's going to pop, and all that's going to happen there for him.
Yeah, and it's, again, I think he's going to be a great mentor for this young man. Now, it's up to Justin Fields whether or not Justin Fields is going to be a franchise quarterback. I also think one of the things that I know you said you saw some of it in game one, but one of the things you don't do in the preseason, and this goes for every team out there who's managing every quarterback that matters out there, especially your starter. You don't put your starters and especially your quarterback in harm's way. So Justin Fields, at this point, best attribute are his legs. Okay. And I would say the same thing, by the way, about Lamar Jackson. I would still say today, to this moment, the guy that's won 2 MVPs, right? He's won 2, right?
He's won 2. He should have won 3. Yes.
Maybe. Some people would say that. All right. He's already won 2 MVPs. I would still say to this day, 2 MVPs on the trophy mantle. Okay.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson's best attribute is his legs. Okay, period. It is. He's still better from the waist down, than he is from the waist up. I mean, he's a competent thrower of the football, and some days even more than competent. All right, but his legs are what make the difference. And Justin Fields is the same at this point. Now, you want to try and see if you can balance that. Let's have it be 50-50 or at least 55-45 maybe or something, to become, dare I say, more like Lamar Jackson. That's what the Jets' goal should be, is to try to bring Justin Fields more into the realm of what Lamar Jackson has been able to become. because then he's just an unbelievable weapon. So the Jets could do no wrong in making this move. It may not be the answer. It may not be their franchise. I don't know. But the guy's still only 26.
Mm-hmm.
He is right now the second best running quarterback in all of football, and that's not bad.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
And and he's getting a chance to do this with a relatively young team, with a coach who I think is a good mentor. And they are totally saying this is yours. And everywhere else he was kind of like, is this yours? Is this not yours? I mean, certainly the situation in Pittsburgh last year was very, very foggy right from the get-go. I mean, their intention was to start Wilson, and then Wilson got hurt in camp. And then they were like, I guess we're starting Fields. And then he goes out there and he's actually performing pretty well. And they're like, well, our intention really was Wilson. We're going to go back to Wilson. And they end up doing that. So the kid's, he's had some trials and tribulations, but sometimes, it's the tough stuff that builds character anyway. So we'll see. I don't know, but very much like many of our insiders, we were talking to Jake Asman the other day, and Jake is just like me. I think we are totally on the same page. We would love to see Justin Fields succeed. Like, I just kind of rooting for him. But Willie, well, that's on him, because he's going to have to learn to be a better processor of information, and he's going to learn to have to be more accurate with his arm. And if he can do those two things, then he can become more like Lamar Jackson, and he's a superstar. This guy could be an MVP candidate.
Sure.
But we're just not there yet. But who else was out there? Who else were the Jets going to swing at this point?
Well,
so I think it's a very worthwhile swing, regardless of whether it works or not. Go ahead, BG.
How you just ended is exactly what I was going to say. The other quarterbacks, according to insiders, that the Jets were considering were Carson Wentz, who's still a free agent, by the
disaster.
way, and Marcus Mariota. So
come on. Oh, my God.
I mean, that was door number B and door number C if you out there are not satisfied with Justin Fields. To me, again, I say the same thing that you just said. Is it going to be a success or not? I don't know. Justin Fields is going to determine that. However, in terms of the swing of the bat, the Jets made the best swing of the bat at quarterback they could have possibly made if they were going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. And obviously the Jets very early in the process decided they were going to do that. So then the next step is, let's take a guy like Marcus Mariota. You know what he is at this point. Carson Wentz, you know what he is at this point. The canvas is unfinished for Justin Fields. They believe in the building that he could be a franchise quarterback. Now, other people can laugh on the outside and say whatever they want and say, there is no way in hell, but the Jets believe it. And if they believe it, then let's see what this year's going to be. It's either going to be great and he's a franchise quarterback, and there you go, we fixed it, or you're going to find out he's clearly not the guy, and now you have your first-round draft choice next year and other assets, and you try to go find the answer next year. To me, I think it was a worthwhile swing. You didn't spend too much money. He's making $20 million. That's like, I think it's 20th among starting quarterback salaries, or it was at the time. I don't know what it's evolved to now. I mean, it's a worthwhile swing. Let's see what happens, and I'm excited to see it's different. It's different than the Jets have ever had in their history.
All right, let's do the take. Dalton obviously talked about it, but let's talk about it together here for a moment, and that is Daniel Jones getting the starting bid here for the Colts. We talked a little about Richardson, so let's focus a little bit more on Jones. I think the Colts are in for it. I think they're in for it. The Giants gave this guy every chance in the world, and then some. He's a backup. He's a backup in this league. Unless he can do a Geno Smith and somehow later figure it out, that a new scenario with a different coach and a different system, maybe just something clicks and it works. That kind of happened for Geno. We all thought Geno was washed. We all thought he was done, but he was still a relatively young guy. And then he gets with Pete Carroll, and then boom, it was like magic. And all of a sudden he's a more than competent quarterback and still hanging around in the NFL. So that's Daniel Jones's only path. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. This guy is a scoop of vanilla ice cream, man. I mean, he doesn't even have sprinkles on there. There is just nothing interesting to me about how this guy plays the game of football.
Yeah, I would say this for the Daniel Jones experience. I don't love Daniel Jones. And
experience. You're calling it an experience.
It is good, bad, and everything in between. It's an experience. But what I would say is this. His head coach is Shane Steichen, and he got the best out of Jalen Hurts before, who was a mobile quarterback. Daniel Jones is a mobile quarterback. People don't look at Daniel Jones and think he's a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields, but look at the numbers. They speak for themselves. I think here's another thing. The harsh spotlight of New York. Being the starting quarterback of the Giants is a thing. Being the starting quarterback for the Jets is a thing. Being a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys is a thing. You have more than just the job to account for. You have to account for the media, the fan scrutiny, and everything else that comes with it. In Indianapolis, no offense to the Colts, but the light is nowhere near as harsh there that it is in Giants land or Jets land or Cowboys land or any of these places. So if that bothered Daniel Jones with the Giants, he's in a place where obviously the team believes in him. They didn't just call him the starter for week 1. They said he's the starter for the season. So they're putting their eggs, and by the way, that's their only eggs. Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, their general manager, could be fired if this doesn't go right. And with that, they're took us on the line. They're saying, Daniel Jones, you're our guy. So if I'm Daniel Jones, I am uplifted. I am like, wow, they are confident in me. And I think one of the most hidden or not so hidden things about being a quarterback is confidence is key. You need to be confident in yourself, and the people around you need to be confident in you, a belief in yourself and your teammates. So to me, while I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan in the world, the thing that I feel good about is that they all believe in him, and this is a fresh opportunity with a bright offensive mind and Shane Steichen.
Yeah, let me just add this though. All
sure,
right,
please,
and you're right to say nothing that you said. I don't disagree with anything that you said, but the Giants showed confidence in Daniel Jones. They paid him over Saquon Barkley. They paid him.
Sure.
Okay. Money that he honestly, ultimately, based on the stats, didn't earn. Okay. It wasn't worth. Okay. Didn't live up to. They didn't tell me what was the since this guy has come in the league. What was his competition on the Giants? Did the Giants bring a single guy into camp that threatened his job? No.
Not that I remember.
And if you listen to comments, not only by Brian Daboll, but by previous coaches who coached Daniel Jones, I don't remember how many have coached Daniel Jones. Is it just 2 or is it 3?
Probably,
all right. Every single one of them was a Daniel Jones fan, at least publicly. Daniel's great. Daniel's smart. Daniel processes. Daniel's got great legs. Daniel, has shown the ability to throw the ball down the field. He just needs to put it all together. Everything that was ever said in New York about Daniel Jones by his coaching staff, by his organization, and frankly, what really matters, putting their money, in front of their mouth, essentially, all right, was we love Daniel Jones. And all Daniel Jones ever did for New York was underperform. He had one reasonable season where Giants fans got to the playoffs, beat the Minnesota Vikings. It was like, wow, maybe this isn't as bad as we thought. And that led, of course, to the Giants giving him the contract, which was a disaster, as we have come to see. So confidence is nice, but I think the Giants showed plenty of confidence, and he couldn't deliver. Now, could a smaller market and less attention and less spotlight, which clearly he's not all that comfortable with, be a beacon of light for him? It is possible. But I just want to go on the record and say the Giants didn't show lack of confidence in this guy ever. No coach, no front office member, nothing. It was always positive thoughts about Daniel Jones. It was a fan base that hated him, and frankly, with good reason.
Let's take a step back from the philosophical. Admittedly, fine. Giants want to have confidence in him, fine. So I'll take a step back from that. Let's just get to the brass tacks here. If you go to PFF, we just had PFF on the show. Shout out to Dalton Wasserman, Pro Football Focus. They ranked the 32 offensive lines in football heading into this season. Guess where do you think the Giants rank? Out of offensive line rankings heading into this upcoming season, they did a ranking. Where do you think the Giants rank out of 32 teams?
Giants offensive line going into this season.
Correct.
According to PFF.
Correct. Yep. Their analytics, their numbers, their hoopla. Yeah.
Okay. I hope I'm not way off on this one, but I have to think that it's not good. So I'm going to say 32 teams, the Giants rank 22nd.
28th is where they rank.
Okay.
So they're a bottom 5 offensive line in football.
Agreed.
Okay. Where do you think the Colts rank?
The Colts, they got that kid from, I think it was Notre Dame a few years ago, who has really been that was
Quentin
the one
Nelson,
that was the draft.
Sure.
Quentin Nelson, where the Giants could have maybe taken him and they needed offensive line. They didn't.
Sure.
He's been fantastic. I know he's had some injuries in the last year or two, but he's still fantastic. They have a good offensive line. So I'm going to say Colts this year. I don't know what they've tweaked and changed, because I'm not exactly a Colts fan these days, but I'm going to say that the Colts are 8.
They're 5th. The 5th best offensive line in football. And here's this from PFF. They put a blurb in it. The Colts squad center Ryan Kelly and guard Will Fries depart to the Minnesota Vikings in free agency, but this unit is still among the best in football. Indianapolis may be home to the top left tackle guard pairing in the NFL, with Quentin Nelson's 81.3 PFF overall grade, ranked fourth best among all guards last year, and Bernard Ryman, his left tackle PFF grade was 85.1. So long story short, right, we want to get rid of from philosophy and touchy-feely and confidence. All right, let's get down to bare tax. The Colts have one of the best offensive lines in football. They have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. They've got Michael Pittman Jr. at receiver, along with other pretty good receivers, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, things of that nature. And in the first round, Tyler Warren out of Penn State, who apparently is looking awesome and should be on fantasy radars. So we go to that. Belief and all that hoopla, just, made up hoopla. What about the brass tacks? He's got the best offensive line he's ever played behind and all these weapons around him. That also, to me, gives me the confidence that, hey, if Daniel Jones is ever going to be something, hey, with the top 5 offensive line in football, that could be the key.
So then if he fails here, Paul, can we say it's official? I already think it's official. But if he fails here, it's official.
Right.
Okay, it's official. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's official. Or he's not a franchise quarterback.
Sure,
in the
whatever
NFL.
You want to call it.
You can run him out there and start him, but he's not going to win you a lot of games.
So this is why I think he's going to be halfway decent, to be honest with you.
We'll see. MFC agreeing with you, although he said it this way. Honestly, I think Daniel Jones has the skills and heart to be successful.
There you go. Again, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan. His best year, quote unquote, was Brian Dable's magic that he brainwashed him for 1 year, and he had 15 touchdowns to 5 picks. While a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, if you just told me that sounds terrific. 15 touchdowns. They controlled him. They made him not make mistakes, which was good, but they made him a version of himself that was lesser. And the lesser worked for that pocket of time. But to me, that wasn't sustainable. So I think that's where we ran into other issues.
Yep. All right. MFC followed that up, by the way, with this comment, which is, again, credit where credit's due. There's accuracy here. But I would say this about the comment here. They paid him, gave him 0 offensive line, let their paid QB be sacked 11 times in a game. Who leaves their starter in to be sacked 11 times? All, true.
Which was the Cowboys game he's talking about the week 1 a couple years ago. Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that it's not like the Giants weren't trying to fix the offensive line. It's not like the Giants weren't attempting to put tools around Daniel Jones. I think they drafted with him in mind a lot of times and trying to make the team better, particularly the offensive side. I think as a result of that, in all honesty, it caused the Giants to suffer because they made bad draft picks and then didn't fill those gaps. I mean, Kadarius Toney, not a good draft pick, wide receiver. The list goes on and on. Obviously, Evan Neal's failures. But we can just go through, just how guys just haven't completely and utterly panned out. That the Giants have put, high level, first and second round, even up to third round draft picks into their offense and just hasn't panned out. So there's some truth to that, but I don't know. I still, while I agree with what MFC is saying, Daniel Jones, go back to my touchy-feely world, because that's the space that I operate in a lot of times.
Yes.
He just doesn't look the part.
Fair enough.
When given time, when given open situations. Remember that play? We talked about it last year. I think it was on the radio. All right. Or maybe it was the year before. Right.
All right.
But they were showing, and they were showing it on SportsCenter and on the ESPN talk shows ad nauseum. There was a play where Daniel Jones got loose. He escaped. He rolled out to his right, and there were 2 receivers coming across the field in his direction.
Okay.
And both of them had defenders chasing them that were at least 5 yards away. Okay,
so great separation.
They were
wide
open. I mean, it was like, and he was running that direction, and the players were running that direction. So you're rolling right. The players are coming right. They see the quarterback's running route, so they break off their routes, and one is the deep guy, one is the short guy, and they're running the same direction as Jones, clearly in his vision. And he's got the ball in his hand, and he's looking at that moment down the field. He looks at the 2 wide open guys and decides neither wide open guy is open enough. And he tucks it and runs and gets like 3 yards or something. And they just kept showing it over and over again. Like, how did he not see that? What is going on in this guy's mind? It's just one play in one game.
Right. Yeah.
But it was, to me, a depiction of a dichotomy of a guy just not aware, just not seeing the field, just not being what a good quarterback needs to be. That, to me, seeing that one play on top of a compilation of a whole bunch of other things, just made me say it's just time. It's just time to move on from Daniel Jones. Clearly, we made a mistake by paying him. We made a mistake by giving him that extension, and it's just time to move on. period.
Well, by the way, Philly Noodles, I know because he's been talking about it all offseason, is a massive Daniel Jones fan. And he says we're making his spidey senses tingle with Danny Dimes over there, which good for you, Philly. And by the way, you got yourself another raffle ticket for our contest with your contribution. So thank you. But, we'll just see what happens. Again, he's the guy. Anthony Richardson is not breathing down his neck. I think he's got a lot of weapons around him. He's got an offensive line, and the Colts are desperate. The front office is desperate to do things. So let's see how that sort of works out. It'll be an interesting watch nonetheless, whether it fails or succeeds. That'll be fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Philly jumped in with one more here. I'll throw this one up on the boards. It's on topic here. You can fix that, Manchild. You can't fix a bad thrower of the football or someone who never reads defenses. I would argue that Daniel Jones at times has been a good thrower of the football. I think at times he's been a poor thrower of the football. I think if we were really to dig in on tape on Daniel Jones, you would see exactly what Daniel Jones is. You want to know what Daniel Jones is? He's not god-awful, all right? And he's not Joe Montana. He's mediocre.
Purgatory.
He's vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
He's got no sprinkles. He's got no syrup. I'll say this about Justin Fields, and I don't know that Justin Fields is going to have a better career than Daniel Jones. At this moment, he isn't, okay? But I'll say this about Justin Fields. Justin Fields is rocky road with sprinkles and some caramel drizzled on top. And heck, I might start throwing some other crazy things on there. That guy has some crazy stuff that, like, if you could round it out, if he could just kind of get it between the ears right, if he could figure it out, if there's just some little, all right, look out, okay? I don't see the same thing with Daniel Jones. I know people talk about his legs. He's not a bad runner, and he's had some moments where he's run the football, but
sure.
Nah, vanilla ice cream, man. Vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
Get me some chocolate, man. Get me some Rocky Road. I want some brownie chunks in there, man. Just give me something else besides vanilla. I don't want vanilla. Not in my sports.
Well, thankfully, you don't have vanilla anymore, Lerch. You've got all kinds of different flavors in Giantstown.
Yeah. This is a good comparison. I don't know if Philly Noodles meant this, but Garoppolo. That's a good comparison. There he is, kind of like a little Garoppolo-ish. I don't know the word. Like, although Garoppolo is like, he's like Hollywood. I don't know. It's too much.
Hollywood. He's not nearly as mobile.
They're not the same personality at all.
Right.
Okay. But Garoppolo to me, despite the Hollywood, is still like vanilla ice cream to me as a quarterback. Like when I look at him as a quarterback, he's just a dink and donkey kind of guy.
Yeah.
He kind of has some movement, but it's just there's nothing exciting about him. Okay. So even Russell Wilson, you may not like him either. I don't know that I'm the biggest fan. We'll see if I become a fan this year or not. He's on my team. So, but I mean, and I liked Russell when he was in his prime. I thought he was actually excellent. But the late stages here and kind of what he's become mentally, I'm a little bit concerned about. But Russell, there's excitement there. There's excitement. There's some things that he can do that excite you as someone who likes football. So. Come on. Don't ask me questions like this. Look at this. He's asking me this question. Tyrod or Danny Dimes?
Come on. Well, you know the answer, Lerch. It's Tyrod.
My answer is neither. My answer is neither. That's my answer to that question.
No,
is neither.
Your answer should have been Jackson Dart. Should have been your answer there, Lerch.
Yeah, there you go.
Option C.
Okay. All right. I think I'm exhausted on Danny Dimes.
There you go. Yeah.
I wish him all the luck in the world in Indianapolis. But get ready, Indy. He's, vanilla ice cream. That's what you're getting. A scoop of vanilla, and that's it. In a bowl. Not even a cone. Just in a bowl.
Wow. Which is what I prefer. I actually prefer a bowl when I get my ice cream.
So the Browns doing the right thing with Joe Flacco at this point?
No, they're not.
Yeah. I think I agree with what you were saying to Dalton. What do the Browns at this point have to lose? Especially when you got two. Like even a shuttle system between those two guys might be more interesting than seeing Joe Flacco go back out there again.
I just don't understand. Joe Flacco is 40 years of age, 41 maybe. I don't even know. I'll pull it up here in a second. Like, he's old. He gives you nothing. He's not winning you the Super Bowl. He was just on the couch. It just feels like we're wasting. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm like, ugh. What are we doing here? Okay, he had the hot moment where he came off the couch and they won a couple of games at the end. They made the playoffs, and then they got annihilated by the Houston Texans, and Joe Flacco threw like 3 pick sixes. That, to me, would have killed the Joe Flacco story, and now he's back. Again, I would literally do what I said. I'm Dalton Wasserman. Okay, I probably wouldn't have drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks, but that's neither here nor there. Now that I have them, the first flip a coin. Hey, Dylan Gabriel, Shador, come in the room. Here's a coin, heads or tails. What? Heads or tails? Heads. Okay. Whoop. Up, tails. Sorry. Shador, you're going to start the first 8 games of the season. In week 9, we're giving the ball to Dylan Gabriel for the rest of the season, barring injury. Good luck. And then we're going to game plan the crap out of it. And on a week-to-week basis, I'm going to make observations. Wow, Shador is this, or Dylan Gabriel's this. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to know if either one is anything. Are they a backup quarterback? Are they out of the league? Are they a franchise quarterback? What are they? I'm going to figure it out during the season. That is mission number 1. Because mission number 1 is not winning the Super Bowl. Every team says they're going to do that, but there's only a realistic amount of teams every year that has a chance to win a Super Bowl, and the Browns aren't one of them. So if I'm the Browns, that's how I split it. I am giving half the season to Dylan Gabriel, half the season to Shador. Everything with Joe Flacco seems like an utter waste of time, and I don't understand. They have 2 first-round picks next year, so if they're tanking and that's the goal, well, great. Okay, that's your plan, and you don't care about the 2 rookie quarterbacks. That seems like bad planning, but okay, if that's your plan, get the number 1 pick next year and then pick whatever quarterback you want. But Joe Flacco is just old, and he sucks. He has the mobility of a parked car. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It just that doesn't make any sense. And even if you were to win another game or 2, having him in there, I don't think it would be worth the opportunity. It's almost like, I mean, I hate to say it this way because no NFL team treats regular season games like preseason games, but why not just essentially, if you're the Browns, continue your preseason and just, play both of these young guys and just figure out which guy you believe is going to be your quarterback of the future. To me, that's a way better solution than going with Joe Flacco.
Because it is a win-win. You do my rookie strategy, it's a win-win. You say, why? Okay. Well, if they both suck, you're getting the number 1 pick. Great. Figure that out. Or if they're great, sweet. We just found a franchise quarterback in the 3rd or 5th round, respectively. That's cheap rookie control for the next 4 years. Great. Either way, you win. You get conviction in your decision. Joe Flacco just feels like wasted time, but hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy in Oswego, New York.
And I even think that Kenny Pickett would be a better choice. Now, I know he's hurt and he hasn't been playing, but let's just assume a healthy Kenny Pickett. So you roll Pickett out there as the sacrificial lamb, essentially, to take some of the hits. Meanwhile, you evaluate Pickett, and, is he anything that could become something? Because I still think there's some questions there. He's still a relatively young guy. He's really only gotten 1 real crack. So is he going to get another swing at this? Okay. At some point, is someone going to believe in this guy? He showed promise, certainly, in college. So I would be more in favor of that than just running out old Joe. So yeah, that's really a head scratcher. Hey, great news for us Giant fans, Boy Green. I don't know if you heard this, hot off the presses this morning. Okay. But 3 guys back at practice for the Giants. Number 1, Malik Neighbors, who we kind of expected, but then we were hearing about this back issue. So Neighbors back at practice for the Giants. Number 2, Cam Scatterbo. Back at practice for the Giants. So that was a question. Is he even going to be ready for the opener? If you've got still 2 weeks to go before the opener, it looks like Cam Scatterbo, barring a setback, is going to be back. So that's good news because he was having a very promising camp. And then number 3, the biggest of them all, Boy Green, Andrew Thomas is back with the Giants practicing. Andrew Thomas returned to practice. He's off the PUP list now, and he's got about 2 weeks to get ready for the opener. So maybe we ought to believe Giants brass when they said they were confident that he was going to be back on the field for the opener. Looks like he's going to get, has not been participating in training camp, did not go to the OTAs. It's just been rehab. He had that Lisfranc surgery on the foot. So it does look like Andrew Thomas is now getting ready for the season opener. I'm sure we're not going to see him in this preseason game on Thursday. Giants, I think, play tomorrow night. But it does look like there's a very good chance he starts against the Commanders, which is big news for the Giants for sure. So,
Lerch, you talked about 3 guys coming back. I don't know if you heard this news late yesterday. The Jets also had 3 guys return yesterday. Quinnen Williams returned to practice. He got hurt very early in camp. He's back. Jermaine Johnson had his first practice coming off a torn Achilles, coming off the PUP list himself. And Sauce Gardner is back. He had a calf issue as well. So the Jets got massive reinforcements yesterday. The Jets at this current moment in time, are currently running their final public training camp practice as we speak. That is happening right now, and then they're closing shop like every other NFL team, and then normal media will cover it moving forward. But this is the last practice open to the fans today, so it's great news that both teams seem to be getting healthy at the right time, Lerch.
All right. Got to have these guys. Okay, so let's set up the rest of the week for people here, BG. We've got our usual live Friday at 10:30. Come with your fantasy football questions. That, of course, will be our guy Joe Bartle, so you don't want to miss that. That is Friday at 10:30 again. And we do about 30, 35 minutes with Joe, so you want to be on time, and you certainly want to jump into the comments and make some, ask some questions, whether it's drafting questions, whatever you've got on your mind. Maybe you've already drafted your team, trades, anything that you want with Bartle. We'll have them all season long, and we're going to do it live every Friday. So we've got that. Ed Valentine is getting dropped today. So this afternoon, our interview with Ed Valentine, Giants insider. We'll get you some inside the Giants stuff from camp as the Giants kind of getting close to wrapping up that. And then
Anthony Prohaska.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, we got Anthony. That's right. Yeah. Okay, we're doing Buffalo Bills on Thursday with Anthony Prohaska, our Bills insider, right? So we've got Giants and Bills coming your way, and fantasy football live on Friday, so you don't want to miss all of that. Boy Green, anything else? I'll give you final thoughts here.
Yeah, I would just say for you fantasy football people out there, obviously some of the things me, Joe, and Lerch are going to be talking about on that show include our fantasy drafts that start this weekend in our digital leagues. But just because you're very likely, if you're out there listening to the universe, you're probably not a part of those leagues because it's only a limited amount of people. Don't feel left out. Please involve your leagues in our fantasy questions and things of that nature. If you have draft questions, oh, Joe Bartle, I have the 3rd overall pick. What should I do? Or, oh, Joe Bartle, this, that, or the other. Feel free to utilize Joe Bartle. That's what he's here for, to answer your questions. He is a fantasy football expert from RotoWire. He does this for a living. You have start-sit questions on a week-to-week basis. You have questions about your fantasy drafts coming up. Leagues, keeper situations, all kinds of things. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of our regulars, Matt from Auburn, Bill the produce guy, Jamie the FedEx guy, and some of these other people that are in the chat. But feel free out in the universe if you guys want to take full advantage of that. I would as well. So, no, that is just my final salute. And then next week, Lerch, as Dalton Wasserman talked about earlier, college football is back, and Syracuse football starts the season in Atlanta against Tennessee, the Volunteers. So, we are scheduled to have the play-by-play voice of the Tennessee Volunteers on the show next week, and that'll be a cool college football. A lot of football on this show, and that's our identity, Lerch, but some college football coming next week. That should be a lot of fun.
All right. Fantastic. Hey, folks, thanks everybody for chiming in. Appreciate your comments as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe at MC Show Digital. Again, as soon as we get to 300, and we're moving very quickly towards that number, the David Tyree autographed The Catch photo goes out the door to one of those 300. We will draw a name. We will obviously announce it right here on the show and then get that out in the mail to you. And then after that, we'll set some other benchmarks. We've got some other cool items that are, like I said, historical items, at least to us, who was sitting on the walls of our studio for nearly 25 years, and we're going to give away all of that stuff inevitably to someone. So be in the pool by becoming a subscriber if you're not already. I know you can obviously watch our videos without subscribing, but if you really want to know what we're up to and you want to be part of our little community, please do so. I'm looking forward, Boy Green, to meeting your community down in New York early October for the Jets-Cowboys game. And by the way, one final note I'll get to, Boy Green, because we're only a little more than a week away from our fantasy draft, the Champs League draft, which will be held at the Smoky Bones in Clay on Friday, August 29th, a week from this coming Friday. And that is, I have reached out to my insane Cowboys friend from New York. Yes, the same guy that once got me into a bar fight in a Cowboys bar in a bathroom. Yes, that guy. He is on board and is going to deliver to me before I leave the New York City area. I think I'm actually going to go see him tomorrow.
All right, nice.
He's going to deliver to me some Cowboys paraphernalia to wear to the draft. For those of you that don't know, I lost a bet to a listener while we were still on the radio, and one of the members of our fantasy league, Jamie. And in losing that bet, my end of the bet was to wear Cowboys attire to the draft.
All
right, to the draft. So I will be there in Cowboys attire. Now I am Boy Green, just a little bit, I will show up in it. I will take some ridiculous pictures in it.
Naturally.
And then that thing's coming off, all right, for the rest of the night. I'm not wearing that thing all night.
You're not wearing it for the full night?
I'm not
wearing
it.
You
for
have
the full
to
night.
wear it for the full night.
No bleeping chances that happen.
Okay,
I would show up in it. That was my
okay,
thing.
I don't know. I don't know the fine print.
I don't care about the fine print. I don't care what he has to say. Okay. I will show up in it. I will take some pictures in it, and then it is going away, and I am wearing what I am planning on wearing for the
Interesting.
draft.
Okay.
I am not sitting there all night with that disgusting Cowboys jersey on my back. No chance that's happening.
All right.
But I will live up to my end of the bargain.
You'll take your lumps.
I said I would show up to the fantasy draft. Those are my exact words, Boy Green. I will show up to the fantasy draft.
For it. I don't know.
In Dallas Cowboys attire. Isn't that painful enough? Do I really need to sit there the whole night in stupid Cowboys gear? And I don't know what my buddy has in store. I'm not sure whether I should dictate terms on that or whether or not I should just.
I'm sure he has choices. Yeah, I'm sure.
I know he does, and knowing him, he's going to give me it's going to be like Des Bryant, or it's going to be like I recently saw him in a social media post. He's become a Micah Parsons guy right now, so he's been number 11 everywhere.
I'm sure that's available.
But he's probably. I hope he gives me something old school. Like I hope he has like a Staubach. Like I'd be okay with that. As much as I hate the Cowboys,
is that
I like Roger Staubach.
You should enjoy. It shouldn't be like a legend.
Well, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy wearing a Roger Staubach jersey, but it would be less repulsive than Michael Irvin, than Des Bryant. Than some others. Okay,
Dak Prescott, maybe
a Randy White jersey, I'd be okay.
Wow,
a Staubach jersey, I'd be okay. And even Anthony Dorsett, I think I'd be fine with.
Tony Dorsett, okay,
Tony Dorsett. Once known as Anthony Dorsett.
Right. Yes.
But I know. So there are some that would be less repulsive. I mean, they're all repulsive. But some would be less repulsive than the others.
Okay. So keep us posted on that surprise. I can't wait.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to get it from him tomorrow because I have no other chance to get it.
Sure.
So I will unveil it and maybe even briefly wear it to Friday's fantasy football with Joe.
The pre-show, which will be the day of. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
No, I'm saying this Friday. I'm saying this Friday.
Oh, yes, I got you.
I'm saying in 2 days. So this Friday, because I'll pick it up tomorrow, I will wear it on our live show this Friday. So if you want to find out what I'm wearing to the fantasy draft, I will give you a sneak peek this Friday. Okay?
All right. Looking forward to it.
There you go. That's my promise to you. And those will be the only 2 times that I'm ever wearing this piece of trash.
There you go.
Whatever the heck it is.
All right,
disgusting.
beautiful.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll put a nice, neat bow on this one. Again, thanks to all of you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Don't forget, we're on demand. So if you missed any of the show, just go to our YouTube at MC Show Digital. You can rewatch the video there, catch anything that you missed. If you missed the beginning of the show, we interviewed Dalton Wasserman, which was fantastic. You definitely want to get some of that content. You can just watch it. Just go to the little live tab inside our channel. And don't forget, if you're not already, to become a subscriber at MC Show Digital. We really do appreciate you, Boy Green, for you and for Dalton Wasserman. I thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you live on Friday. Anthony Prohaska coming your way and Ed Valentine coming your way this afternoon. Prohaska tomorrow. We'll see you on Friday live, folks. Take care.